We found the missing hiker on the fourth day. The problem was, he seemed to know we were coming. I've worked in search and rescue for most of my adult life. In that time, I've found people in every condition imaginable. Lost, injured, terrified, confused. I've found people crying. I've found people angry. I've found people who didn't even realize they had been missing. But I'd never found anyone like the man we found that October. The call came in on a Thursday morning. A 32-year-old hiker had failed to return from a solo trip in the mountains. His vehicle was discovered at a trailhead. His backpack was missing. His phone went straight to voicemail. By Friday afternoon, a search team was assembled. I was assigned as team leader. The missing hiker's name was Owen Mercer. According to his family, he was experienced, careful. The type of person who always checked in. The type of person who always returned when he said he would. Which made the situation worse. People like that don't usually disappear without a reason. The first 2 days produced nothing. No footprints, no gear, no sightings. By the third day, frustration was starting to build. We expanded the search area, covered more ground, checked trails nobody expected him to use. Still nothing. By the morning of the fourth day, most of us were exhausted. I remember looking at a map while drinking bad coffee from a paper cup, trying to decide where to send my team next. A few hours later, one of our volunteers radioed in. He'd spotted smoke. Not far from a rocky ridge several miles outside our planned search area. We moved immediately. The climb took nearly an hour. By the time we reached the ridge, I was expecting the worst. Instead, we found a campsite. A small one, just a sleeping bag. A backpack, a fire, and a man sitting beside it. At first I felt relief. Finally. After 4 days, we'd found him. The man looked up as we approached. He wasn't injured. He wasn't scared. He didn't even seem surprised. In fact, he looked mildly annoyed. As if we'd arrived late. I introduced myself. Before I could say anything else, the man sighed. "Took you long enough." The words caught me off guard. I remember laughing. Not because it was funny, because it was strange. Most missing hikers ask for water, or help, or a phone. This man acted like he'd been expecting guests. One of the volunteers asked if he was hurt. No. Another asked if he was lost. No. Then he returned his attention to the fire. The conversation felt wrong from the beginning. Not dramatic, not threatening, just wrong. I asked him his name. Owen Mercer. That was the name we'd been searching for. So naturally, nobody questioned it. Not yet. We checked his condition. Perfectly healthy. No injuries. No signs of dehydration. No panic. No confusion. If someone had told me he'd been camping there for a weekend by choice, I would have believed them. We packed up his gear and started heading down the mountain. Halfway back, one of my volunteers asked him a question. "What happened up there?" The man shrugged. "Nothing." "You've been missing for 4 days." "No, I haven't." The volunteer looked at me. I looked at the man. He genuinely seemed confused. "How long do you think you've been out here?" I asked. "A few hours." I assumed exhaustion was affecting him. It happens. People lose track of time. So I didn't push it. At least not then. Back at the command center, things became complicated. The first issue appeared almost immediately. The family arrived. Owen's parents, his younger sister, his brother. The moment they entered the room, I knew something was wrong. They stopped walking. The man smiled at them. Nobody smiled back. His mother looked at me, then at him, then back at me. "Who is that?" The room went silent. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. The man's smile slowly disappeared. His sister shook her head. His father stared at him for several seconds, then said, "That's not Owen." The man looked genuinely confused. "What are you talking about?" Nobody answered. Because nobody knew how to answer. The missing hiker's family had never seen this man before. Not once. The situation became very strange very quickly. The man continued insisting he was Owen Mercer. He knew the address. He knew the names of family members. He knew details that weren't public. Things we hadn't released. Things he shouldn't have known. But physically, he wasn't Owen. Not even close. The photographs didn't match. The family didn't recognize him. Nothing matched. And yet he never changed his story. Not once. Investigators questioned him for hours, then days. His answers remained consistent, calm, detailed, unshaken. The strangest part wasn't what he said. It was how he said it. People lying usually get defensive. People confused usually become frustrated. This man did neither. He spoke with complete certainty, as though everyone else had made a mistake. A week later, investigators brought him to Owen Mercer's home. I wasn't supposed to be there, but curiosity got the better of me. The moment we entered, the man walked straight through the house. No hesitation. No guessing. No searching. He moved like someone returning home. At one point, he entered a bedroom, opened a drawer, removed an old photograph, and stared at it. Nobody had told him where it was. Nobody had mentioned the drawer. Nobody had mentioned the photograph. Yet he'd gone directly to it. I still remember the feeling in that room. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. The investigators looked uncomfortable. The family looked terrified. The man looked confused, as if everyone else was behaving irrationally. The investigation dragged on for months, then years. No explanation was ever found. The real Owen Mercer was never located. No evidence suggested what happened to him. No evidence explained the man who claimed to be him. Eventually, the case faded from public attention. Most people moved on. I tried to. But one memory stayed with me. Years later, I was interviewed for a documentary about unsolved disappearances. The interviewer spent most of the conversation asking the obvious question: who was he? I gave the only honest answer I had. I don't know. Then the interviewer asked what bothered me most about the case. Most people assume my answer would be the missing hiker. It wasn't. Most people assume it would be the false identity. It wasn't that either. The thing that bothered me most happened the moment we found him. The interviewer asked what I meant. I thought about that mountain, that fire, that ridge, that man's face. Then I answered. Everyone always asks who he was. I paused, but that's not the question. The interviewer waited. I continued. The question is why he looked so unsurprised. I still remember the expression on his face when we stepped into that clearing. Not relief, not fear, not confusion. Nothing you'd expect from someone missing for 4 days. Just mild annoyance, like someone waiting for a late bus. After 30 years in search and rescue, I've met hundreds of missing people. But I've never met anyone who looked less surprised to be found.